Today we're chatting with Jordan Syatt, and I was so excited for this conversation. If you follow Jordan Syatt on social media, then you already know that this conversation is full of expletives and full of absolutely BS-free advice for health, fitness, and nutrition coaches. Jordan has built a very successful online fitness business by being real, by doubling down on efforts to educate, and by methodically creating useful long-form content, even as the world seems to be evolving to goofy TikToks. Sorry, just my opinion. This conversation, though, is a total blast. Have fun with this one, folks. Please welcome our guest, Jordan Syatt. Hi, I'm Erin Power.
And I'm Laura Rupsis.
We're certified health coaches, and this is Health Coach Radio.
This podcast is about the art, science, and business of health coaching.
We share our insider tips to help you become a better coach and entrepreneur.
And we interview expert guests to discover how they've made it in this growing field.
It's time for health coaches to make an impact.
It's time for Health Coach Radio. Jordan Syatt, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, we are excited to be jumping back in. Erin and I have been on a bit of a hiatus with podcasts, and we made an exception for you. That's how excited Erin was to have you on as a guest on our podcast. So
let's go.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah. So we like to start every episode with you telling a little bit of your origin story about kind of who you are and kind of how you landed here.
Yes. I mean, I could ramble for a long time. So if I talk too much, just say, shut up. I'm a short, bald, nerdy dude who likes to lift weights and help people with their health and fitness. I grew up outside of Boston, so in a suburb of Boston, and I, come from a very short family. So short family, not very athletic family. I was terrible in school, and which is weird. I was the black sheep in my family. Everyone in my family, moms, uncles, aunts, grandparents, everybody is like doctors, lawyers, teachers, professors, superintendents, like all super, super smart, but none of them were good in athletics. And I was the complete opposite. Like I was terrible in school. I was in special education, but like I loved sports and fitness, and I was fortunately really good at it. I have no idea who I got it from, like at all. And so because like we were pretty small, my mom wanted my brother and I to be able to defend ourselves because like we were on the smaller side for our age, and just in general, small boys. And so she walked in the living room one day and she was like, I want to put you two in wrestling. And at 8 years old, the only wrestling that I knew was WWF style wrestling. So I was like, you want me to hit someone with a chair? And she was like, no, you idiot, like Olympic style wrestling, which I had no idea what that was, but I was like, okay, cool, give it a shot. And I just fell in love with it. Like I absolutely loved it. I was very good at it. So I did that starting at 8. And then by the time I got into high school, I made varsity as a freshman. I beat a junior out for the varsity spot. And I was good from a technique perspective and an endurance perspective since I'd already been doing it for a number of years. But on varsity, I was 14 years old, mainly going against 16, 17, 18-year-olds. And so the strength differential was pretty significant. And so I knew if I was going to be competitive, I would have to get stronger. So I found a gym a couple towns over from me in this town called Newton, Massachusetts. And I wrote them an email and I was like, listen, I'll take the trash out. I'll clean the floors. Like, let me just come and learn from you just so I can learn how to get stronger. And I was really lucky because number one, they said yes, they took me under their wing. And number two is they were unbelievably science-based. They were like from 14 years old, I got put into a ridiculously science-based gym. They introduced me to some of the greatest coaches of all time. They like gave me all the textbooks I needed. And from 14 years old, I worked at that gym all the way through high school. So I knew I wanted to be a coach from the time I was a young kid. And I was just really lucky to have an amazing community around me from the very beginning. So I didn't really waste much time with the pseudoscience shit. And I was really lucky to be around some amazing coaches early on.
Wow.
I love that.
Okay. Like pretty, we like that origin story. That's sort of the hero's journey. You had a health transformation of sorts, not really the typical one that we would hear. You started as a kid and you were looking to build strength and get improve your skill as a wrestler. One thing that I picked up when you were telling your story is, you kind of started at the beginning saying, I'm this guy who helps people with their health and fitness. So that's a broad statement.
Yeah.
What is there any more specific granularity to that, or is your target audience that broad?
So a lot of people hate when I say this, and you two might really regret having me on once I say this, but I hate when people are like, you need to niche down. You need to niche. I can't stand it. I'm like, There are several main goals in the fitness world. There's athletic and performance-based goals is one. There's pain reduction or elimination. There's another. And then there's aesthetics. So like looking good naked, whether it's losing fat, building muscle, Those are the three main goals. And they usually work in combination with one another. It's usually not just one. Usually most people want to look better, right? So they often want to lose fat, build more muscle, get more defined, but maybe they also want to reduce pain, or maybe they also want to like be more athletic, or something as simple as getting chin-ups or doing a heavier deadlift. These are performance-based goals. So they all run in congruency with one another. Everybody in the world wants to be more confident with their body and feel better and not be in pain and to be stronger and more athletic. Like everyone wants that. So I don't have a more specific niche, long roundabout way of answering that. I mean, when I was younger and a powerlifter, I thought that I would only want to work with like big, sweaty, hairy powerlifter dudes. And so I was a competitive powerlifter for many years. And I ended up deadlifting 4 times my body weight. So I deadlifted 530 pounds, weighing 132 pounds. And as you can see, like I'm not a big jack dude. I'm 5'4". I weighed 132 pounds. And this was in 2014, I believe. And so all leading up to that, I started getting a ton of women clients. And I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, around 2009, 2010 is when women in powerlifting really started to grow in popularity. Like women really started to want to strength train around then and get stronger. And like that was like the really beginning of that. Girls Gone Strong came around that time. Like it became like that became the time when women was like, hey, I want to lift weights. But they also didn't want to get big and bulky. And it's funny because now we're seeing women want to get bigger now, which is interesting to see that progression. But at that time, they're like, no, I don't want to get big and bulky. So they were looking at me as like, this kid's tiny, like he's a small, scrawny little kid, but he's strong. So I started getting all of these women wanting to coach me for powerlifting, wanting to coach them for powerlifting. And so that's how I sort of took off, just in more of a Gen Pop crowd. And then once I retired from powerlifting, I was like no one's going to want to work with me anymore because I don't powerlift. And it was just the complete opposite. It was actually funny. My business grew more when I stopped posting about powerlifting and I started posting more about just general health and fitness.
So here's something that I kind of picking up on here. And this is something that we see happen when people are kind of afraid to have a niche, that they're going to somehow not attract enough people. You know, many people come into this, I think, from this sort of scarcity mindset, right? But what I heard you say is that, you know, I thought I was going to be focusing here, these big powerlifting dudes. And I found what was attracting to me were these women. We find that happens a lot of times, that once you get really good in an area and you become an expert, then other people are like, I want to work with that guy, you know? Yep. So your niche sort of broadens. It's really more from the standpoint of, I'm going to start here and build a name for myself here. And we find that happens. And it doesn't surprise me that once you sort of decided to let that go and your business matured into something, because you know more, the more people you work with, the broader your knowledge set becomes, and you can help more people. And that happens naturally.
Yeah.
So, you know, even though you weren't going into this, like, I have to niche down, I'm still seeing like this common trajectory. Like, this was this area that I got started in and I got really, really good at that. And that's what we're trying to tell people to do. Be really good at something, and the rest will follow.
I agree. I think the main issue that I see is a lot of people worry about like, what should I niche down in, as opposed to just doing what they love. It's like your niche down should be whatever you're passionate about. So like I was really passionate about powerlifting. So that's what most of my content was around. And then I was no longer passionate about powerlifting. So I retired and I started posting about what I was more passionate about. And then surprise, surprise, my business grew. And ironically, like what I was passionate about was just helping everyday people get healthier. It wasn't about necessarily getting a stronger 1-rep max deadlift or any of that. It was just more about health and fitness. And so I just would post about what I was passionate about. I see issues with people being like, all right, so you need to find like your perfect avatar. You need to know like what radio shows they listen to and what magazines they read. No, you don't. Like, especially for this industry, you just need to post about what you're passionate. And I've changed my content so many times over. Like, now I'm posting more about my wife and our future kid and all this stuff. Like, it's because that's what I'm passionate about right now. So like that will change my demographic, which is totally fine. I think most people feel like they're put into a box and they need to find the most advantageous box. It's like, no, like whatever you care about the most that's your niche. And like really you, if we really think about it, like you are your niche. Some people are going to love you. Some people are going to hate you, and that's okay. Just whatever you're passionate about, that's fine. And some people might start off loving you and then eventually hate you. It happens to me all the time. And then other people will start off hating you and they'll end up loving you. It happens all the time as well. So there's no wrong way to go unless you're trying to force yourself to do something that you're not really passionate about. And like we have such an amazing opportunity, like for the first time in the history of the human race, like we can work from home. Like all three of us are in different homes right now having this conversation, and we can do the job that we're passionate about. If you get to choose your job, why would you not do what you're passionate about? Like you get to choose. Why would you not do what you are most passionate about? And if that changes over the course of your life, why would you not change? It's like we have the opportunity to. It's totally fine.
I love that. That's great. I've said that before too, because Laura and I are both also in the business of training health coaches. We work on the faculty of a school that certifies and trains health coaches. And so the question that we hear the most from new aspiring, recently trained, recently graduated fitness, health, and nutrition coaches is this, not having any idea how to put themselves out there, to whom, how, where. It's just this bewilderment. And everything you just said, just to reiterate it, first of all, lucky you get to do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
You get to do whatever you want. So just pick something out of thin air. You get to do it. You're not beholden to some employer anymore. You're stepping into entrepreneurship. Yeah, that's actually hard for some people who are making a career change out of having worked for someone.
Right.
They're waiting for someone to tell them what they should be doing. And it's like, you're going to have to put on your big person pants and figure that out. And the good news is it could be anything. And so what I've kind of I've moved away from the find your avatar client language and more towards stake your claim in something. Decide you're going to be an expert in something.
Yeah.
And just whatever that is right now, whatever jumps to the front of your mind right now, go with that. Go with that for right now. Doesn't matter if 1 year, 5 minutes from now you change well, maybe not 5 minutes, but let's sit with it for a little while. It can change, it will change. But right now, stake your claim in something. And to your point, Jordan, pick something that you really love, because otherwise this whole thing's going to be a real drag.
Yeah, that's exactly right. 100% agree.
Yeah. Did you always own your own business, or did you ever work? Can you speak a little bit?
I mean, when I first started coaching, like I interned at this gym for free, and then I worked at other gyms as well. But like, so I started my online in 2011. In July 2011 was when I started my website, and it was very lucky and very advantageous in that in 2011 online coaching wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
Like before Instagram existed, like online, like there were some people doing it, but actually the only guy I know who was doing it at that time, his clients would send him a check via the mail, and that's how they would renew online coaching. And so when I first started my website, I didn't know an online business was possible. And I very much believe that's why I actually have succeeded, is because I wasn't expecting to make money 5 days after I started my business. Like I had no idea. I assumed that one day I would open up a gym and that I would have a gym in person. And like, that's all I thought I wanted. And then so like when I would post articles, like I wasn't doing this short form content. It was like one article a week, every week, at least one article a week. And each article was like 2,000 to 5,000 words. It would take usually at least between 14 to 24 hours of work on that one article before I published it, from thinking of the article, writing the article, editing the article, publishing the article, research, all of it. So it would take like 24 hours of work just for one piece of content. And for the first year and a half, my website got like 20 views a day, 18 of which were my mom. Like it wasn't that like there was nothing going on. So I wasn't making money for like a year and a half. And most people now, they make like 4 posts on Instagram, like, oh my God, it's not working. Like, what's going on? It's like, well, first and foremost, your last 4 posts are about your pickup truck and your dog. Like none of it is helpful at all for anybody. So what do you expect is going to happen? Not to mention, like, it takes a long time. So I used to coach in other gyms, and I did actually end up opening my own gym in 2014. But then I sold it after about 6 months. I got rid of it after about 6 months to my partner, and like that was it. But like, and I just went fully online at that point. But for the first 10 years of my career, it was all in person with a little bit of online. And then once my online picked up, I dropped in person and went fully online.
I love hearing these stories of folks who were early adopters.
Yeah.
I think it's
John
really
Berardi was talking about that. Remember? Like he was
Yeah.
one of the, he's like, before like anyone even knew what the internet was, he was out there trying to start an internet-based business.
Yeah, I love hearing that. And I really love hearing and almost remembering those early days, banging it out, that 2,000 word article that nobody read and you didn't make any money off of it. When you reflect back on those early days, like what feelings do you have about it?
I mean, now, because I don't work nearly as hard now as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm like, oh, like if I lost everything, like, because here's the thing. When people come to me like, hey, I'm just starting now, like, what should I do? I don't say get on Instagram. I don't say do TikTok. I'm like, start a website and start writing articles. Like that should be your number one thing. And I was like, man, that it takes so much effort, like to write these long form articles. Like long form content is the best content ever. It's like, it's the best content. It is the most sustainable. It builds a great foundation for a business. I don't care if it's website articles, YouTube videos, or podcast. Those are the three best pieces of content you can do. Podcast is difficult because it's difficult for people to find you. If you don't have a current audience, it's very difficult to start from scratch. Website articles are great because of search engine optimization. Same with YouTube videos, where you can literally start from nothing and it's much easier for people to find you. So I think those are the two best places to begin for anybody, including nowadays. But most people are like, they just want the instant gratification, which is funny because fitness coaches are like, don't do the rapid fat loss thing. Don't do the detox, the cleanse, all that stuff. Just because you're losing weight quickly doesn't mean it's anything. But meanwhile, they'll turn around and they'll like, I want to go viral on TikTok and I want to get all these likes. It's like those numbers mean nothing. The same thing, like these coaches are like, don't worry about the scale. The number doesn't define anything. It's not that important. But meanwhile, they're not getting followers as quickly as they want. And they're like, what the fuck? It's not working. I only got 4 likes. And it's like, who cares? Like you're focusing on the number. You're being a hypocrite when you tell your client not to focus on the number, but now all you're doing is focusing on the number. So, I mean, if I could advise one thing, it would be start with just website articles, just long form website articles, 1 a week. You do that for 2 to 3 years straight. I guarantee you will have a very successful foundation for an amazing business that is built. It doesn't mean you're going to be viral, but I know people with hundreds of thousands of followers who are struggling. And I know people with like a couple hundred. I mean, think about this. A lot of people, I've only got like 300 followers. Imagine if you had 300 clients, like you'd set, not to mention, imagine standing in front of a crowd of 300 people. Every time you post, you're posting to a crowd of 300 people. It's like, if you got up in front of a crowd of 300 people, you'd be scared. You'd be like, you'd be like, oh my God, like, what am I going to talk about? But now it's like, you're like, you have no idea like what to say on social media, or you're like, I don't know, you treat those 300 followers like they're not real people. It's like, I think the best thing you can actually do is long form website articles and build a grassroots foundational business from that long form content. And when I think back to it, I'm like, I don't know if I have the energy to do that anymore. Like it's hard. It's way more difficult, but generally speaking, the things that are more difficult are the things that are going to yield the best results over time.
Right.
Yeah. I think that your real talk about the hypocrisy of, we don't want to give our clients quick fixes, but we're looking for the quick fixes. It's stark, very stark, bleak as well.
True. Well, and the thing with social. Oh, I'm sorry, Erin. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think it's wild that your advice, and wild in a good way, by the way, that your advice, because that was the whole spirit behind my question, is okay, like that's how you started, but how would somebody start today? And it's like same thing, just
same thing.
And I wonder if
what's the number one website in the world?
Google.
Google. People like you can look like there's something called an Alexa ranking. You can see what the most popular. If you want to learn something, you don't go to Instagram. If you want to like, hey, how do I do this? You go to Google and you type, how do I do this? And what comes up? It's not Instagram by design. It's not Instagram. It's either website articles on the article page, or YouTube videos on the video page, or Pinterest on the images page, which Pinterest is another, but oftentimes what they'll do is for Pinterest, this is a whole separate business model, but like they'll take the images and they'll embed them into a website article. The best places to build your business are website and or YouTube and or podcast. That's like the foundation for a business. It without question, the foundation. But most people aren't willing to do it because they're only going to get 7 views for the first year, and it's really difficult.
Yeah.
So anyone that because my role at our school is admissions director. So I'm talking to all these people that are like, what's this health coaching thing all about? And one of the big questions I get all the time is, do I have to be on social media? I hate social media, blah, 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 blah. So what I'm hoping people that have that in their mind are taking away from this is it has its place. Social media has its place, but that's not necessarily really how you can build a viable, long-standing, strong business. It's got to be in your website articles, actual videos of you talking to people, or podcasts, which is recordings of you talking to people, right? And getting that sort of content out there. I wrote a couple things down because I feel they're important, because they're a common thread with everybody that Aaron and I have interviewed that have been successful at this. And one is consistent publishing. Yeah. That you posted something of value, long form, thoughtful, took a lot of work every single week. And we talk about the value of content marketing, meaningful content marketing, not like clickbait, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing I heard was,
just look at me, not just like, oh, look at my abs. Like, no, that's
right. No one gives a shit about your abs. They want to know about theirs, right? Wasn't making money for the first year and a half. Aaron and I have been pounding the table that this takes 3 years. Mm-hmm. That your first year, you will make some money, and you're likely be profitable, because in an online business, I guess the overhead's not that high, right? Mm-hmm. Your second year, you'll make more money, and you've hopefully got all this repurposed content that you can turn around and reproduce. You sort of found your sort of personality, and you've learned a lot of lessons, and you're making more money, and boy, this thing's really rolling. And there's something about that third year where I heard you say, I don't work nearly as hard now as I did. And I find this sort of path to be common across any business. There's something about like that third year where all that work you did in the first year and a half, 2 years, finally starts to gel, finally starts to take off. And now you're like, for real. You don't feel like the new kid on the block anymore, even though it wasn't that much time. It's not like it's 10 years have gone by. It's enough time that people know who you are if you do this right. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you've built a reputation for yourself. And like, I don't really know anyone who's been like as successful as they want to be by 3 years, but like I've seen an amazing foundation built in those 3 years, to the point where like you could go fully, like solely rely on that income. Like, exactly. Cool. You can leave your full-time job, you can fully rely on this. And then from there, continue to build, where I would say what I've seen is usually between 5 to 10 years, depending on the person. Some people, they just explode more quickly, and other people, they take longer. But like between 5 and 10 years, I haven't seen one person who's literally give it all of that time who hasn't had an amazing business.
Right. And the other thing I was thinking along those lines is, this idea of, I get really salty about this idea of, well, how do I scale my business? How do I scale it?
Oh my God.
It's like, you don't even have anything yet.
Yeah.
To build it for, like, how about before you scale to 6 figures, you make 4 figures? Let's start with 4 figures. And then to your point, let's get you to a point where you're making, in a few years' time, a reasonable living.
Yeah.
But it's this idea of, again, leaping to this celebrity status. I don't know. I think that must be something cultural that has shifted with our collective consciousness. A lot of the instant
social media. That's social media. They're out there telling people they can be making 6-figure incomes in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, and the coaches being like, oh yeah, I want to have a scalable income. That's the equivalent of their clients saying like, yeah, I want to lose weight and get stronger without working out or paying attention to my nutrition. It's like, all right, or like what you're really saying is you just don't really want to work that hard, which is fine. I get it. But like, if you want to be successful, you have to work hard. Like,
yeah,
it's so funny. There's so many parallels between fitness and business, and all of these coaches, they're like, who like pride themselves on how hard they work and how dedicated they are, and the intensity they bring to the gym. Meanwhile, they're like, well, how do I scale my business? I don't really want to like do so much with it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Then don't build a business if you don't want to work that hard. It's like, it's crazy.
It is. I was actually thinking, I'll throw myself under the bus a little bit, because I was lamenting what a pain in the ass it was to spend 45 minutes writing an Instagram post the other day. It's like, oh God, all this work.
Yeah.
Nothing though, right? It's absolutely nothing. But like, again, we're just getting swept up in this instant gratification, sort of this fast moving culture that I don't know what it is, but I completely agree with you that the advice we give to our clients tracks almost one for one to the advice we should be taking ourselves when doing anything that's important to you. I completely agree. So We go back
And if
to your
people are like, if people say, I get this all the time, but I'm a little bit nervous putting myself out there.
no one's like,
Yes.
Cool. Like, what do you say when your client says, I'm nervous to go to the gym and work out? Like, it's
no one's
like, I don't, everyone's paying attention to themselves. Like, they're focusing on their, it's like, but if you want to get results, you've got to put yourself out there and like, and do it. So, and there's like, there are ways around it. So with a client working out, yeah, they could buy equipment and do it at home. Cool. So like for yourself, you could do website articles where you're not making videos. Then you write and no one has to see your face. You don't have to put yourself out there. Just write articles and just, you don't even have to share it on your social media. Just let people find it organically, which will take longer, but that's totally fine. It's like same thing, but you're going to have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation in order to see results. Like that's it. So same thing.
It's wild how it tracks. So, but going back to your origin story, so you're slaving away over a keyboard, writing these long form articles. Now in current days, like you do have an enormous social media following, right, in a few different platforms. Like, do you use social media that way, or is that just like how do you approach social media? I know how you like. I love following you on social media because you just have this perfect amount of like snarky real talk that I just adore. But how do you use social media to this day in this day and age, like this TikTok era, this ridiculous TikTok era?
So I'll say this. For anybody, I would not look at how I use it now and try and mimic what I'm doing now. I would scroll down my feed and look at what I had done. And here's what I say. So the main thing I do now is I do Instagram Q&As. Because like that's what I have the most fun with. I enjoy it the most, and I get to answer the questions that real people have, and I get to rely on my strengths, which I think is like being a little bit witty and funny, and also giving like real in-depth response. I also share a fair amount about myself and my wife and my family and my own personal thoughts, which I did not do for many years. It was like 95% education and 5% like a little bit of entertainment and a little bit about me. Now it's probably more like 70% education and 30% about me and my family and life. But like, that's not how I started. It was all education. What's your question?
I just want to know when that shifted and why.
So a couple of reasons. So one of the best pieces of advice that I got when I don't know, I was probably 24. Someone said to me, there comes a point in your life where making more money will solve more problems until you get to a point where making more money will cause more problems. And if I really wanted to just make more money, all I would do is just do educational content. That would be the vast majority of what I do, because that's like how you get more business, especially in the fitness industry. Like you teach people, you educate them, and they'll go to your business. And that was also what I was really, really passionate about, it was like educating. I was posting 3 times a day, every day on Instagram, 1 time a week on YouTube, 1 time a week on my website, 1 time a week on my podcast. Like I was going crazy I was like abusing Adderall so I could stay up late and work late. Like I was just working. And it got to a point where I was like, making more money is now going to cause more problems than it's actually going to, thank God, what a blessing at a point where I don't need to do that anymore. And maybe at one point in my life I will, but for right now, it's like, I'm good. Like I need to relax a little bit. So now my goal is not to get more followers. I have more than enough followers for the rest of my life. I could lose 500,000 followers and still be fine. No big deal, right? So if I wanted to gain followers, it would be more about education and less about me. But now, so more followers is what we would describe as trying to get a greater reach. I'm creating more depth now with my current audience. So what I'm doing is I'm telling more about my personal beliefs, my political beliefs, my family life, my religion, just talking more about me with the people who care. And there's a fair amount of people who don't get and they unfollow me, which is fine. But the people who do care love it. And they develop a very, very deep connection with me and relationship with me, even though we might have never actually spoken. But that's why I'm just speaking more about what I do and what I believe now, knowing some people will hate it and the people who don't hate it are going to go over the top loving it. So it came from me being at a very blessed point in my life where I don't need it anymore and I don't necessarily want it. And if I kept chasing it, it would probably do more harm than good. So, but I mean, I think the vast majority of people, like let's say I was going to come back and I was like, okay, I need to go crazy with content. Like I need to build my business. If I was like, I have a real financial issue, I would stop talking about me and I would just educate, and I would post on my feed every single day, at least 1 time a day. and I would just do an educational piece of content, and that would be it. And I would also do stories and all of that. But like in a day and age, what I'm looking at like the reels, like TikTok reels, shorts, all that stuff. The stuff that you're going to do is like the dancing and like the dun, pointing to things, and like you're not even using your voice. You're just like that you point to things, and I don't get it, but it's a terrible business strategy. It's awful. It might get you a lot of views. But and this is a whole separate topic, but I think Instagram and TikTok are inflating views because they know that people are really they are drawn to views. So like they'll inflate those numbers so that you will use their platform. Social media is not like Instagram, TikTok, all this stuff. They're not social media platforms. They're disguised as social media platforms. They're advertising platforms,
right,
that are disguised as social media platforms. They make money by you spending more time on their platform. So they know if you inflate views and they use your platform more, you're going to make more money as a company, which is like, great, cool. That's smart. Like Instagram, TikTok, they're companies, like no harm, no foul. But as a user of their platform, a free user, might I add, like you have to know this and be aware of it. And as a business owner. So this is why like going by views and going by the number is a really big mistake. I would do one piece of educational content, none of this dancing and just pointing, like educate them. If all you're saying is like I don't know, like I don't even know. I don't know how they come up with this stupid content, but like they're just like dancing and they point at little things. And number one, it goes by too
5
fast.
ways
like,
to reduce inflammation.
Yeah, it's just like it helps nobody. And I know a lot of people who get a lot of views, but they're like, it's just not translating in my business. Meanwhile, I have other people who are like not getting nearly as many views, but they're killing it in the back end, the numbers that actually matter in their bank account and all that, because like people are actually getting helped from their content. So stop focusing so much on the views, focus more on just educating. The phrase that I use, I think every single post should have what I call an IPA, an immediately practical action. If you don't know what exactly the person reading or consuming the content can do immediately after consuming that piece of content, what they can do immediately to get better, then it's a piece of content. They should know exactly one thing. What can I do now that's going to improve my life and help me reach my goals? If that is not included in your post, if you can't clearly identify that, it's a post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I don't get the whole Reels thing either. I just think it's goofy. And I see some people that I think are very like serious people that you can tell they're marketing people talk them into doing something like this because it's like all the rage, you know, and you could just tell them like, oh my gosh, don't, you know, I guess my question for you is driving people to that educational content. So that's my, you know, you need some eyeballs on there. And I guess that could be where some of these other social, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or some of the other platforms that I don't view to be as serious, really more for infotainment than really information, and then driving them maybe to a YouTube video or your website or what have you, and kind of using that as a bit of a teaser. So, I mean, I guess I just love your opinion. You know, speaking to someone who maybe the early days, maybe they've been out a couple of years, they know what they're doing now in terms of coaching, right? They're a good coach and they just need to find a way to an educational piece of content a week. A day. I'm sorry. So where should they be? Should it be on their website and then just using social media to drive them there? Should it be YouTube? Do you think it depends?
So it depends. There's not one definitive right answer here.
If there's one thing I've learned in my years as a health professional, it's that changing lives is much easier when you're doing it alongside a team of experts. Physicians, nurse practitioners, and other care providers have learned this too, which is why they're looking for health coaches just like you to join their medical patient care team. Primal Health Coach Institute's Health Coaching in Medical Practices Specialist certification prepares you for that. You'll learn how to work alongside a clinician and advise and motivate patients to change unhealthy lifestyle habits and manage chronic conditions. By the time your studies are complete, you'll be ready to secure a position at a practice that fits best with your coaching style, and you'll have the tools you need to plan programs, accept referrals, and coach patients. If you're a health coach with a passion for helping patients get the life-changing information, encouragement, and accountability they need to make sustainable changes in their health, Visit primalhealthcoach.com to learn more about the Health Coaching in Medical Practices Specialist certification.
So it depends. There's not one definitive right answer here. I would say, like, going back to what you said earlier, do you need to be on social media? No, you don't. You don't. If you just do your website, that's great. I would encourage you to get an email list as well. I think that would be super important. So once people go to your website, you can actually have their contact information. But from social media, I would go to the ones that like you would enjoy using the most. So like, I think Instagram is still super powerful. And like there are many ways to grow on there. And I enjoy it much more than I enjoy TikTok. I mean, TikTok is just a cesspool. I can't stand it. Like I can't stand it. So I don't really use it. I have over 250,000 followers on there, and like I don't use it. It's just I hate it. So Instagram I prefer, and mainly I prefer because it's much more easy to actually communicate with people one-on-one and to interact with people. Like I think stories and Q&As, like again, my goal being depth, not width right now, it's so powerful. Like I would look at this. I think your feed should be educational content almost solely, like 99, like really the only personal stuff I have on my feed are when I proposed to my wife, when we announced that we're having a baby, when we got married, like just a couple personal things. The 99% of it is just all education, which I think is what you should do. And stories should be like a mix of like almost like a mini vlog and education as well. So I think Instagram would be great, is a really, really good way. And for whatever it's worth, even though I don't like these short form pieces of content, you can make a 60 or 90-second video very educational. It's the question is, a lot of people, they really suck at it. They suck at making content, and it's because they don't practice. They don't know the skill of it, and it just takes time and time and time and time. You go back and look at my old content, like it sucked. It was awful. It's only gotten better because I've been doing it for over 11 years now. But like the vast majority of my first pieces of content on YouTube were just exercise video tutorials. Like you should just exercise videos. Just, hey, here's how you do a deadlift. Here's how you do a Romanian deadlift. Here's how you do a dumbbell row. Here's how you just, if you become the person in your community of 300 people that is like the expert on exercise technique, guarantee you're going to be getting clients to do training programs. You could also do content. Like if you can't explain something in 60 to 90 seconds in a very like brief overview, that's a problem. Like you should be able to do that. You should be able to explain, like 3 things you can do to improve your health nutrition wise in 60 to 90 seconds. Like you should be able to do that. If you can't, then you shouldn't be a coach. So it's like that, you should be able to do that. And then from there, let's say you have a podcast or an article that covers the nuance of it, because you can't do nuance in 69 seconds. You can cover the basics. Cool. All right. So I want you to eat more protein. Here's why you're going to eat more protein, because it fills you up more. It has a higher thermic effect. It's the only macronutrient that can be used to build muscle. Eat more protein. Cool. Great. Then, by the way, link in my bio to my website that covers my top sources of protein, how to figure out how much protein you should be eating, what time of day you should be eating your protein, how often you should be eating your protein. You go into the nuance of it in the longer form piece. So you have a great piece of short form content and then leads them to a longer form content that gives them more nuance. That's how you get that all encompassing. And now, I mean, on stories, I think everybody can post a link now. Like you used to not be able to. Like everyone can post a link. Put the links in there. Have the link in your bio to your website or to your YouTube or your podcast, whatever. But when you share something, post a link and say, hey, click here, read this, and post it several times. Sometimes you have to post it 2, 3, 4, 5 times for people to click on it. It's funny. Like I'll always look at my in my stories. I'll be like, okay, so first I posted this link. And I post again in the next story, and I post it again in the next story, and I post again in the next story. And I like word things differently. And I see over time, because you can see how many people click the link. And I can see over time, more people will click the link by the 4th story, as compared to if I just only posted in the first one, I would have gotten maybe half the number of people. But because I asked them 4 times to go, now they're more likely to go do it. So like you have to ask more than once.
Yeah. I think in defense of Reels, this goes back to what you just said a minute ago. In some ways, it's in training us to be articulate in short form. I feel like when Instagram stories kind of, we've heard this advice before. A lot of aspiring and practicing health coaches like, get into your stories and just riff, be yourself, show us your life. And sometimes people that I follow they have no breaks. It's like there's like 75 little lines up there. It's like, I'm not hanging in for 75 15-second continuations of this.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
So I think that the 60 to 90-second time frame, it's been interesting to practice. How am I going to get this generally quickly across? And I think to your point, then the follow-up activity is you've got to add the nuance, the context, all the detail that's really actionable. So just in defense of reels, I think it does teach us to be concise.
A reel doesn't cover an entire topic. It covers one tiny aspect of a larger topic. So, I mean, what I would encourage someone to do is like, you should write an article all about protein. Write the article first. It should answer every fucking question someone could ever have about protein. How to figure out how much they should have. What are their top favorite sources? What are your top favorite sources that are vegan and plant-based for those people? What different types of protein, whey, casein, egg, like everything about protein, cover all the myths around protein, or in terms of timing, like about the anabolic window, all this stuff, everything. For every subsection, make a reel. For every subsection, cool, anabolic window. A lot of people think that you need to eat protein within 30 minutes of your workout or it's a waste of time. In this quick reel, I'm going to explain exactly what's going on here and like what you need to know about it. Boom. Then you explain it for the next 7 seconds. Like if you want to know more, link in my bio for my article on this whole topic.
For that matter, an exercise that coaches should be doing right out the gate when they get started is developing a program, a methodology. This is how I work with people. This is my nutritional philosophy or my exercise philosophy or whatever, lifestyle, or all of the above. You're creating programming, you're writing programs. Maybe you're recording videos if you're an exercise oriented coach, or maybe you're creating eating strategies if you're a nutrition coach. But at the point is that's also content. And even though that does live behind the paywall, technically putting it out there for free in little bits and pieces. I mean, it's already created. It's you already wrote it. Like put it out there. What do you think about that? The free content thing. A lot of coaches get a little squirrely about giving it away for free. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Idiots. It's so stupid. Like when you go to the mall, you go in the food court, you go to the Japanese restaurant because they got the free sample outside. You taste the free sample and you're like, oh man, I'm going to go get that. It's like, it's a free sample. They're out there with a ton of their meat, which is delicious. And then you try, like, all right, never mind, I'm going to go here instead of this. So they give you a free sample. It's not to mention, and that was like a good example, but not great. I'm going to go into a more like great discussion around this. Everything that someone could possibly need to know about health and fitness is freely available on Google. Everything. Not to mention literally nothing that you know, and not talking to you two, I'm talking to the person listening to this who's like, I don't know why I should be posting for free. You know nothing special or unique about health or fitness. Nothing that you know is special or unique or a secret. You learned it from somebody, you read it in a book or an article, probably not even a book nowadays. Most people don't even read training books. They just probably saw it on Instagram. So you learned it from someone else and it's freely available. People don't hire you because of what they think like you might know.
Right.
They hire you because of what they know you know based on what you've taught them for free. And equally, if not more important, they hire you because they trust you. And how do you get them to trust you is you teach them for free. They're not hiring you to learn secrets. They're hiring you because they like what you've put out and they like your energy. One of the best quotes I've ever heard is people aren't hiring people for coaching, they're hiring coaches. They're hiring you for you, not because of what you have to offer necessarily. So it's give everything away for free. Everything away for free.
I keep trying to tell people, like, we don't have a lack of information problem. We have a lack of application problem. The information's out there. Your client is completely bewildered on how to actually apply it to their lives, their circumstances. Well, so-and-so tried this, but it didn't seem to work for me. And then, that's the problem. We have a lack of application problem, or a lack of how do I make this fit? How do I reconcile all the different things that are telling me something different? How do I translate all of this stuff? Because I don't really understand. Yeah. That's what they're hiring a coach for. I 100% agree with you. Nobody is Googling health coach near me. They're not. They're looking for a solution to their problem. So pick a problem, become an expert at it, and have a solution and stick to it. Are you going to be the perfect fit for everybody? No, I'm not the perfect fit for everybody, right? But you're going to be an amazing fit for a lot of people. And that's what you need to kind of just hold on to with both hands and run with it. So I don't know if you mind, Erin, but I would love to transition a little bit, Jordan, into how you work with people, a little bit about your business. I know you've worked with people one-on-one. You have this inner circle thing now. Tell us a little bit about kind of what your business was like, how you worked with people as a relatively new coach, and how that's sort of evolved with you and matured over time.
So like I said before, don't look at what I'm doing now and be like, oh, I'm going to start that. That's a really bad idea. It's sort of like, I don't know, you're a coach, right? You're a coach. You've got a 6-pack or whatever. You're strong. And it's like your client who's like super overweight and nervous to get in the gym being like, okay, well, how do I look like you tomorrow? It's like, that's okay. Well, that's not going to happen. So when I first started, it was all one-on-one. And when I first started online, it was all one-on-one. That's all I did. And I did that from 2011 to 2015 solely. In 2015, I only had like 3,000 followers on Instagram. Like, it wasn't that much. But I had like 80 clients one-on-one. And I was spending about 14 to 16 hours a day. I had 80 clients at about $400 a month. And so like I was doing well from a money perspective. I was making more than either of my parents had ever made. I was like, man, this is great. But I was spending like 14, 15, 16 hours a day doing emails and then like all weekend doing programs. And I was like, this is not how I want to live my life. Now it's so funny we hear about like make 6 figures and It's not that hard. Like from the perspective of if you have 40 clients paying you $200 a month, you're making 6 figures. Now, you really have to ask yourself, what is your goal with your business? Do you want to make millions of dollars, which is like probably not a really good goal, to be honest, as a personal trainer, but like, fine. If you want to, that's fine. Very few are going to be able to, not because it's impossible, because most people just aren't really willing to work that hard. But like, do you want to make millions of dollars or do you want to live a good life?
Right.
Like, that's really the question that I would ask. And I realized I was making more money than I ever thought possible than either of my parents ever did, which really was very difficult for me emotionally. And I was like, but this is not the life I want to live. I'm not living a good life. I'm sitting on my ass all day, every day, answering emails, writing programs. Like, this isn't fun for me. So then that's when I was like, okay, now that I have a big enough one-on-one business and a big enough waiting list, I'm going to also make a membership. It's a lower cost membership. And this way I'll be able to work with more people at a lower cost. And I didn't just, the phrase is, you don't want to kill the cash cow. I didn't just stop doing one-on-one. I just stopped accepting one-on-one clients and focused more on building the membership. And I started this in December of 2015. And when I first launched my membership, I'll tell you a funny story. This is a funny launch story. So I really wanted people, I call it my inner circle, and I really wanted people to join. And so for the first inaugural launch, I was like, okay, you can join for $1. You can join this for $1. And if you don't like it, I'll refund your dollar. So, and not only will I refund that dollar, I will pay you $1. So I was like, worst comes to worst, you make money on this if you don't like this program.
Wow.
I got 80 people to sign up, which is, again, not that many for that offer. Like, that's great. I only got 80 people. One guy asked for the refund and the payment, which I was like, so I had to pay one guy $1. But 79 people were in. So I had 79 people. That was my start. Over the next 2 months, I lost about 40 people. Makes sense. Like, it's a lower cost, like membership base. You don't give as much one-on-one. So I lost about 40 people. Before I started the inner circle, I said, I have to give myself at least 1 year.
Yeah.
Like, I have to give myself at least 1 full year before I decide whether or not it's worth it. Those 2 months, it went down to about 40 members, and that was the lowest it ever got. And then from there, it slowly started to build. And that's what I did. And so I kept doing that. And it wasn't until, so I started in December of 2015, and I did both inner circle and one-on-one. And then in July of 2017 is when I really like started like, okay, now I need to cut down one-on-one, because I wasn't taking on anymore, but I still had a handful from those several years. And so then I started just like, hey, I can't do this anymore. Can't do this anymore. Da, da, da. So then finally I got down to about like 10 one-on-one and almost solely inner circle. And now it's just all inner circle. But like this took years, like years and years and years and years and years. And I will say this, the membership model sounds really nice. And a lot of people are like, oh, I want like passive income. Like, oh yeah, like I want to scale. It's like, you have no clue how hard it is to run a membership. Not to mention, it's not just about running the membership. It's about getting people in and getting them to stay in.
Right.
And most people do not have a big enough audience to run a membership.
Mm-hmm.
The one prerequisite of a membership is having a big enough audience of people to sustain the drop off, because the churn rate is higher inherently. Right. So you need to have a big enough audience to allow for that to happen, which most people don't. And also, they don't realize that if you just have like 40 to 50 one-on-one clients, like you can live an amazing life. You'll probably end up working less than I do. And like, you can make a substantial amount of income, support your family, support yourself, live a wonderful life, and having an amazing work-life balance. Like for me, that's what I consider successful. And like, if I didn't have the audience that I had, I wouldn't have this membership. But that's like because I have this audience.
Yeah. I think too, just to go back to your comment about the work it takes, it's like you have to make a thing that people also will want to continue to have their credit card assigned to. You can't just pop them in a membership community and dust your hands to signify completion. You have to keep making this thing valuable, right?
People, it's so funny. Coaches often think, oh, I want to make a lower cost membership. And like, why? And like, well, I think people are going to be more likely to pay for something that costs less. No, right. They're not. It's like, you could get something for free online. You get it for free. But if they ask you to put your credit card information in, even though it's free, like, nope, not doing it. Even though it's free, just because it's lower cost, people aren't going to buy something just because it's lower cost. The hardest part of making a sale is just getting them to take their credit card out, period, end of story. I don't care if it's for 10 cents or $10,000. The hardest part is just getting them to take it out. And I've always said, if I could get someone to take their card out for $7, I could get them to take it out for $1,000. Like, that's it. Like, it's the same thing. It's just the hardest part is getting them to take it out. So going lower cost for the sake of going lower cost because you think you're going to get more people signing up is a huge mistake. That is not how it works.
No.
Yeah.
I was thinking, Dana Lynn Bailey, I think we all know who she is, but whatever, bodybuilder extraordinaire, Miss Olympia a couple times, as far as I know. Anyway, she's got 2 million followers and her monthly membership is $7 a month.
Yep.
And so somebody might say, oh, I'm going to make a $7 a month monthly. She has 2 million followers. If 1% of her followers pops their credit card down for, she's making 150K a month. Like, that's to your point. Like, if you have a huge following, sure, but most of us don't and won't. And also, I hope that's not why we went into this industry. Like, how can I nickel and dime people to my own wealth?
Right? Correct. It's exactly right. And the amount of work that goes into it it's insane. Like, it's insane.
Well, tell us, like, what? So you must have staff, or like
I have staff. I have a very small staff relative to other people who I know who have memberships. They have like tons of coaches and they have business partners and all that. And I'm like, no. Like, I'm a personal trainer. I'm not a manager. Like, I don't even call myself an entrepreneur. Like, honestly, I fucking hate it when I'm an entrepreneur. No, you're not. You're a personal trainer. Fucking relax. Like, an entrepreneur is someone who opens multiple businesses and like all this. Like, no, you're a personal trainer. Get over yourself. I think that's where a lot of imposter syndrome comes in, where you have these coaches be like, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, no, you're an ACE certified personal trainer. Relax. So I have one co-coach. Her name is Susan Nieberall. She's fucking awesome. On paper, it looks really weird. She's like 62, I think, 62. So it's like you got this like short, bald Jewish guy, 31 years old, and this like older woman, 62, but she's jacked. And but she started off as a one-on-one coaching client of mine in 2015. And she just had an insane transformation. She left her career as a teacher. She became a personal trainer and she joined my inner circle. And then she was answering a bunch of comments in the Facebook group. And I was like, if Susan ever leaves, because she was saving so much time. So I was like, would you want to work with me? And she was like, yeah, absolutely. So now we work together, and she's my like main coach in the inner circle who will help answer a lot of questions, emails. I have an assistant. Her name is Kat. She was also a previous client of mine. And I helped her with her eating and nutrition. And then she loved it. And she came on as my virtual assistant. So her and Susan like saved my life. And then I have other people who help. Like I have a website designer who does all my website stuff. I have an app developer who does all my app stuff. I have a podcast guy who helps me come up with podcast ideas. I have a videographer and all that. But like, I mean, it's a lot. Like it is a ton. It's a tremendous amount of work. And the vast majority of it is not actually coaching at this point. The vast majority of it is like managing and figuring things out and organization and all of that. It's like, if you love coaching and you just have 40, 50, 60 one-on-one clients, you get to coach people and you enjoy it. And that's it. You don't need a whole staff. You don't need other coaches. Just do that. Cool. Awesome. It's like, I hear people talk about like, oh yeah, like I want a whole business. It's like, I want like to employ people. And like, listen, there are many positives to employing people, not least of which like I get to positively contribute to society and help the economy and all of that, and like help their families, which I think is great. Not to mention the help that I'm giving to the actual members of the inner circle, but the aspect of being able to help support other people and their families is something that I really enjoy, and like I really respect and like doing that. But it's difficult. And it's not coaching. And it's, I think a lot of people overlook this. It's like, it's one thing to be a waiter. It's another thing to manage waiters.
Right.
It's very different.
So with that said, knowing what you know now, making the move that you made, would you do it that way again?
If I knew that I would grow my audience, yes. If I didn't, no. Right. Like if I like, sort of struck lightning with growing an audience. Like it's lightning strikes twice type of thing. Like that was like pretty crazy. And granted, like, yes, I earned it, but like I was posting 3 times a day, every single day on social media for over a year. My audience went from 5,000 to over 200,000 in that time frame. But like I was posting on social media for years before that, and like nothing ever happened. But I had a very successful business. Looking from the outside, you'd be like, oh, it doesn't have that many followers. Like I was doing really well. It was great. But like, because my audience grew, I now had an opportunity to take this next step. So yeah, I would, but I don't think it's feasible for the vast majority of people unless they have those eyes, or unless they're a genius with advertising. And like most people, like they try and get into Facebook advertising. They don't understand like that's a whole separate profession. Like all the work that you put into becoming a coach, people do that for Facebook advertising. They have businesses just based around that. Never mind Google advertising, YouTube advertising, all that stuff. So like the only other way, aside from having an organically large audience, is using Facebook advertising, which can be very, very beneficial. But even then, that's more effective if you have a huge audience. So like I think the best way for people to use advertising is take your best content, the content that people love, that you get the best engagement on, and advertise your content. So literally spend money on your free content. I do that all the time. I will take my best content that I created for free, and people are like, I'm not going to give away free content. I spend my time creating free content that's really, really good. And when it does really well, I put money behind it so it reaches more people.
That's a good idea.
But that is the best way that I've found if you're going to use Facebook advertising. Instead of using it to try and get more clients, just use it to get people to see your free content.
Yeah, that's smart. I'm grateful actually that you shared that previous little tidbit about, if you really love coaching, you can build a coaching business, coaching people. You don't have to scale to a group program or membership. Because I feel like that narrative is so common. And I've hired business coaches that said, well, you're at the point, Erin, where you need to scale to groups. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to work with groups. I like working with individuals. What if I just became a really good in-demand coach that could charge more money to work with individuals? Because that's actually what gets me in a flow state and lights me up completely. And like, that's a part of the narrative that's never shouted loud enough. Like, you could scale your business that way.
Yeah. It's like supplements, right? It's, oh, well, all right, now you're in the point of your fitness where you really need to start getting your supplements. And it's like, no, you don't. Like it's the same thing. And the reason they do that is because they make more money with if you buy their supplements. Like business coaches will make more money if you sign on to like, they can show you how to scale your business. Like, no, I'm good. Like people, especially in America, Like, listen, I'm a big fan of capitalism. Like, hate me, love it, whatever. Like, I love capitalism. I think it's great. There are obviously huge flaws to it, but I'm a capitalist. I like capitalism. In America, it gets taken too far. It is like, and I've been very fortunate to travel all over the world. Like, here, the hustle and grind to make more money, and it's too much, and it's really, I honestly think it's one of the reasons why people are dying so much younger. It's because they're so stressed. It's all they think about. They don't have balance, and like their sole form of success in their life is how much money they can make. It's like you go to other countries in the world, it's like it's a very small part of their life is work, and they're so much happier, so much healthier. It's why I'm like this, like, yeah. I don't need to grind. Like, I'm done. I'm done. I'll work just enough to provide for my family and be happy. But like, you really got to ask yourself, what's the point of all this?
Right. Oh, yeah. I think it goes back to the very beginning of the conversation, which is a really nice way to kind of like start to button it up, which is, earlier in the conversation, you came down pretty hard on niching. You say, look, do what you love. And but that thread should continue the whole way through. Like, keep doing it what you love, and don't feel the pressure to hustle and grind into some other avenue that feels there's friction there for you.
Yeah.
You trust your sort of inner wisdom, I guess.
I mean, there are people that love that. They love building something and then selling it, moving on to the next thing. That's an entrepreneur, to your point.
That is an entrepreneur.
Like that kind of, but if you want to just coach people and watch people transform, and the aha, that light bulb that goes off, and that sense of, I finally figured it out, right? Like, oh my gosh, that's the kind of thing that lights me up too. And so it's interesting that, this constant, we talk about the hustle and grind. So many of us want to leave the hustle, especially now. I'm talking to more people now after coming out of the pandemic, right? They're calling this the great resignation for a reason, because there's all these people that want to leave whatever the job is. And it's coming from all industries, trying to like find this sense of purpose, find this path and something that they really love. And there's a lot of people that are interested in this. So here's something I kind of want to throw at you and get your point of view, because I do hear from people, coaching is a scam. Nobody makes money doing this thing. There's, no one's, blah, blah, blah. So like just the ads that our school puts up, that's the kind of stuff that you hear from people, that this is a bunch of nonsense. You're going to pay all this money to get certified. You're never going to get anywhere or be successful. And it's like anything else. You put a tool in the hands of somebody that doesn't use it, they're not going to be successful. But if you put a really great tool in the hands of somebody that actually uses it and works hard and with passion and purpose, they'll be successful. But I would kind of love your 2 cents on like the coaching industry and kind of where you think it's going and that kind of thing before we kind of let you go.
The barrier to entry has never been lower, which is a big issue. So, we see it's funny. A lot of people are like, do you think it's oversaturated? Do you think it's oversaturated? Like, it's like, no, not at all. Like, for a number of reasons. Number one is there are, like, we could look at this in layers on we'll say, I don't know, the bottom layer is like where everyone is, like the bottom layer. It's like all of the people who call themselves coaches, including the people who just put it in their Instagram bio. And like, they literally just decided this morning they were going to be a coach. They go, cool, I'm a personal trainer. Cool. That's everyone. Go one layer up. It's like, now we actually let's go to people who are like actually very good coaches. It's like, that is a very small percentage of the overall bottom layer. So then you go up, very good coaches. Cool. Like, that's a tiny percentage. That would maybe 2 to 3% of all of those other coaches. Then from there, we have very, very good coaches, but one layer up, all the coaches who are actually willing to be consistent online with content, whether it's social media, whether it's website articles, whatever. That is like a tiny percentage of the very, very good coaches. And I'm not talking about consistent for a week or a month or a year. Like you were saying, at least 3 years. Tiny percentage of that group. And then from there, like, everyone who's consistent for that amount of time in this small group will be very successful. And unfortunately, they don't even need to be a good coach to be successful here, right? Like, you could have people who are super consistent on social media who suck as a coach, but they do very, very well because they're consistent with social media. You don't even have to be a good coach at this point, but like, if you're a good coach and you're consistent, oh my God, like, it's actually shockingly simple. It's sort of like fat loss, simple, not easy. Building an online coaching business, simple, not easy, but you can absolutely do it. It's just if you are willing to put in the time and effort. That's literally it. But you can absolutely do it. I would say realistic time frame, like 3 years to go fully on your own, not necessarily be massively profitable, but to go on your own and be comfortable. 5, 7, 10 years to really have a business that's like, you can wake up when you want, you work for yourself, you feel very lucky and passionate to be able to help the people that you want to help. You can, wake up a little bit later, go to bed a little bit earlier, whatever it is you want to do. You can go away and go on vacation and not have to worry about it. You're still able to get paid. Like, you can provide for your family. That can happen to anybody within 5 to 10 years for sure.
Amazing. This is great. This has been really great, Jordan. Appreciate your absolute no nonsense approach to, well, everything, but especially all the stuff we talked about today. I don't think there's too much ambiguity here for coaches listening. We covered a lot of bases, consistency.
Hopefully it was worth y'all coming back to the podcast for this one.
It was a great return. Thank you very much, Jordan. So let everybody know where they can follow along with you if they aren't already.
Yeah, use the Google machine. Google my name. I'll come up everywhere. My podcast, Instagram, Jordan Syatt. You can, Google. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Thanks so much, Jordan.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Bye.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.